Hello there. How are you? Well, so here it is. The video is ready for you. What we are going to talk about today is legal English for drafting contracts. I have divided the vocabulary into three broad sections. I will explain what kind of words are contained in each section, with some examples of course, and then we will look at one section in more detail. But before we start, if you are multitasking, I would request you to stop that right now. You will gain the most out of this class by focusing on just slides and giving me all your attention. So put your mobile phones on silent, take out your pen and paper because you're going to take a lot of notes. And let's get started. But before we get started, let me take a minute to introduce myself. You guys are familiar with me already, but just a quick introduction in case you aren't. I am Ria and I teach legal English to lawyers and law students in Madrid, Spain. I've been teaching courses for TOEFL, which is the test of legal English skills. It is an exam that helps lawyers certify their legal English level. It is an internationally recognized exam, just like Cambridge or the TOEFL or the IELTS. But the focus of this exam is legal English 100%. These exams have three levels: Foundation, Higher, and Advanced. So it is for anyone, even with a basic level of English. So say if your level is pretty basic, like an A2, you can start with the foundation exam and slowly move up. At the same time, it is not necessary that you give all the exams in the order. Say if you have a higher level like a C1 or a B2, you can directly prepare for the advanced exam. I have been successfully preparing candidates for all levels, and so far I've had 7 candidates clear the exam, which is, for me, is amazing because I love to see that my students are succeeding doing this. I also do workshops around very niche legal English topics like legal English for mergers and acquisitions, or say legal English for contracts. This is something that I do for the Colegio de Abogados in Madrid. When studying the language of law, international lawyers are often advised to divide the vocabulary of contracts into 3 categories. 1. Terms of art, which means certain technical legal words that are seen as being impossible to replace. Number 2. Legalese, which means the non-legal but problematic English words that lawyers use instead of choosing something more easily understandable. For example, indemnify is a term of art because lawyers say it has a decided legal meaning. On the other hand, notwithstanding is legalese because the lawyer who decided to use it could have just said despite. Some lawyers are now happily replacing legalese with plain English. And finally, number 3 is archaic vocabulary. An archaic term is a word that people don't use in everyday speech because it is so old. However, you will see them being used in modern international contracts, so it is important that you understand them. Even though it sounds like the language out of a Shakespeare play. So today we are going to talk about and look at section 2, legalese. In this section, we will see some formal expressions and other contract vocabulary. Alright, so let's get the party started. Formal expressions. Lawyers sometimes use these expressions when they draft contracts. We will see some formal expressions and then the more modern word or expression for it. You as a lawyer are free to decide what approach you want to take. But if you are a plain English supporter, I'd suggest that you be consistent with your approach throughout the contract. Number 1. In the near future. This means soon. Now let's look at an example. The meeting cannot take place on Tuesday, but it is important that we have it in the near future. So instead of saying 4 words in the near future, it can be easily replaced by soon. The meeting cannot take place on Tuesday, but it is important that we have it soon. You see? Number 2. During such time as. This means while. Now let's look at an example. During such time as this contract is in effect, the parties agree to the following terms. So instead of again using 4 words, we can replace it with 1 word, while. This also makes the statement easily understandable to someone who is not a native speaker of English. Number 3. At the present time means now. Let's look at an example. We cannot consider employing any more people at the present time as we do not have enough work for them. Again, as you can see, it can be easily replaced by 1 word, now. So we cannot consider employing any more people now as we do not have enough work for them. Number 4. In the event of means if. In the event of breach, the party in breach must provide a remedy within 5 days. This can definitely be written as, if there is breach of contract, the party in breach must provide a remedy within 5 days. An important thing to note here is that it is not always possible to just replace the phrase with the word and keep the other parts of the sentence unchanged. If you notice in this example, in the event of has been replaced by if, but we've also had to add some words to make sure the sentence still makes sense. If we had replaced in the event of by if and kept the other parts of the sentence unchanged, the sentence would sound like, if breach, the part in breach must, and so on. This doesn't really make any sense and is not grammatically correct. Therefore, it is important to replace the word and also at the same time sometimes change the sentence structure. Number 5. Until such time as. This just means until. So, in the example, this contract will continue until such time as one of the parties terminates it by giving 6 weeks' notice in writing. We can replace the expression with until and the meaning remains unchanged. Number 6. Due to the fact that. This means because. Let's look at an example. Due to the fact that there was fire at the premises of Max Wilrow Limited, we cannot hold our meeting there next week. You can replace the word with because. There was fire at the premises of Max Wilrow Limited. We cannot hold our meeting there next week. And the meaning remains unchanged. Easy, right? Number 7. On the part of. This means by. An example of this would be, due to some very hard work on the part of employees, the new business was very profitable in its first year of trading. On the part of year just means by the employees. So if you replace it and say, due to some very hard work by employees, the new business was very profitable in its first year of trading, it still means the same thing. Number 8 and the last one. This one's very easy. Not less than. It means at least. Let's look at an example. A party who wishes to terminate this contract must give not less than 5 weeks' notice in writing. This means the minimum notice a party must give is 5 weeks. So we can easily replace that and say, a party who wishes to terminate this contract must give at least 5 weeks' notice in writing. Now let's look at other type of legalese. These are all non-legal words, but just old English that you still see very frequently in modern contracts. Let's see what they are and how you can replace them with plain English. The first one is forthwith. It means immediately. And the next one is terminated. It simply means ended. Now let's look at an extract from a contract that uses both of these words. So if you see the example, in the event of the death of the supplier, the rights and obligations under this agreement shall be terminated forthwith. If your client asks you what this extract means, you can say that this means if you die, then this contract will end immediately. Number 3 is notwithstanding. This means despite or in spite of. An example of this would be, I agree to sign this contract notwithstanding the fact that I have some doubts about your ability to deliver the goods to me on the due date. So what it means is that despite the fact that you have some doubts about the ability of the other party to deliver on time, you have decided to go ahead and sign the contract. Number 4, aggregate. Aggregate means accumulated total. Let's look at an example. The machinery that you hire under this contract will be available to you for not longer than an aggregate of 12 weeks. This means that the machinery will be available for a total of 12 weeks. Number 5. Aforesaid. Aforesaid means mentioned in an earlier part of this document. Let's look at an example from the terms and conditions of sale of a contract. Where a specific delivery date has been agreed and aforesaid cannot be met, the buyer will have the option to receive a full refund. So, what aforesaid here is referring to is the delivery date and says that if the delivery date cannot be met, the buyer has the option to receive a full refund. I hope you are now starting to understand how replacing these old English words by simple plain English words can not only make contracts easy to understand for you as a native, non-native English-speaking lawyer, but also to your clients that are non-native English speakers. However, if you are a supporter of legalese, I hope this will help you understand contracts better, although you might choose not to replace these words in your contracts. And finally, the last one, whereas. The recital section of a contract often starts with the word whereas, and in some contracts, every sentence in the recitals will begin with the word whereas. Recitals is the second part of a contract, the first one being the parties. It contains background information to the contract and explains why the parties are entering into the contract. It is a very old-fashioned word, something like taking the following into consideration, or the situation is as follows. So, in this example, you see that every section in the recital section of the contract starts with whereas. And yes, that's about it for the class today. Hope you enjoyed it and hope it helped you learn more vocabulary. If you liked this class and want more of these, I do a Facebook Live every Thursday on different topics related to contracts and also areas of law like business law, employment law, company law, etc. So you can definitely go check it out. You can click on the link in the PDF and it'll just directly take you there. Also, if you want some daily inspiration and want to be updated with the latest legal news around the world, then definitely check my Instagram out. I post stories and posts that help you be updated with what is happening in the legal world outside your country. I've also started this little short video series called Legal English with Suits. So if you've heard about the TV series Suits and are a fan like I am, this is definitely worth checking out. I think it is a fun and entertaining way to quickly learn vocabulary and see how it is used in context. Also, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reply to the email or send me an email at ria@ebeacademy.org. And finally, I want to leave you with a small challenge. I know you've learned a lot of new vocabulary today. And trust me, it is very easy to learn new vocabulary and then forget it, because you never really think about it later or get down to using it. So, my challenge for you today is to select any 3 words that you like or feel comfortable with, and either 1. Look for them in contracts and send me those extracts explaining me what you understand, or number 2, send me examples of using them in your life or in your drafting. Alright? Challenge accepted? So, let's get creative, folks, and I can't wait to hear from you. I want to know that you are implementing what I've taught. Trust me, because nothing gives me more satisfaction as a teacher than see my students implement what I've taught them and see them achieve their language goals. And that's all for now. Hope to see you soon on my FB Lives. Ciao, ciao.